We're always taught there's one way to understand the world, through logic, through reason, through analysis. But what if that's only half the story? Today, we are diving into a really powerful idea from the work of R.A. Schwaller de Lubicz, the idea that there are two fundamentally different kinds of intelligence, one that lives in the head and one that lives in the heart. Let's get into it.
So here's our roadmap. First, we're going to define what these two intelligences actually are. Then, we'll see how they lead to two completely different ways of seeing the world, especially when it comes to symbols. After that, we'll look at how this clash of ideas has literally shaped history. And finally, we'll explore the incredible unified vision of the cosmos that you get when you bring it all together.
All right, let's jump right in. Section 1, the problem of two intelligences. And this isn't just some abstract philosophical idea. No, this is presented as a fundamental fork in the road, a choice in how we experience reality itself.
And this really is the big question, isn't it? Is that logical, analytical path the only way to get to the truth? Or is there another, more intuitive way of knowing that our modern world has, for the most part, just forgotten about? This suggests our entire picture of reality might be missing a huge, vital piece of the puzzle.
And that brings us right into Section 2, where we finally give these two ways of knowing their names: exoteric versus esoteric. This is where we really get to the heart of what makes them so different.
So check this out. On the left, you've got exoteric intelligence. This is the one we all know. It's our brain, it's analytical, it loves to break the world down into little measurable parts, and it always creates a separation between me, the person observing, and it, the thing being observed. It's basically our default setting. But then, on the right, you have this totally different thing. Esoteric intelligence, the intelligence of the heart. It doesn't analyze, it just knows. It doesn't see a bunch of separate parts, it sees one unified whole. It's less about numbers and way more about a feeling of connection, of function, of purpose.
So how on earth does that second type of intelligence even work? Well, the key concept here is something called innate consciousness. And get this isn't knowledge you think about, it's knowledge that you are. It's described as a kind of wisdom that's literally written into our being through direct lived experience. It's in your cells, it's in your bones, it's a knowing that exists completely outside of your thinking mind.
And the source material gives this perfect example to make it clear. Imagine a child touching fire for the first time. The experience isn't processed intellectually. First there's the experience, then bam, the pain. The body instinctively reacts. It pulls back, the blood rushes. That reaction is described as a fundamental reaction of life itself. And from that moment on, the body knows fire. That deep innate knowledge is way more immediate than any mental memory or idea about fire that comes later.
And that innate gut-level knowing is the polar opposite of our mental consciousness. See, this is the intelligence that creates separation. It draws a line in the sand. It establishes a self that is looking at an object out there. So while the innate knowledge of fire is a state of being one with the experience, mental knowledge is just a report about it. One is participation, the other is just observation from a distance.
So, if you've got these two totally different ways of knowing, it stands to reason they're going to have two very different ways of reading the world, right? And that brings us to Section 3, the language of symbols.
Okay, now the source asks us to consider something really radical. Our everyday exoteric mind looks at the symbol and says, yep, that's a drawing of the moon. It's a stand-in, a label. But the esoteric perspective says, hold on, what if it's more than that? What if the symbol isn't just a representation? What if it's an evocation? What if, by its very shape, it actually participates in the cosmic principle of moonness itself?
And if you follow that logic, the implications are absolutely massive. From this esoteric viewpoint, the entire universe just lights up with meaning. Every single object, every gesture, becomes a symbol that evokes a corresponding energy or function across the entire cosmos. Nothing is just an isolated thing anymore. Everything is connected, everything is participating in a much greater reality.
So here's the bottom line. For our analytical, exoteric mind, a symbol represents something. A flag represents a country. But for the esoteric intelligence, the symbol is a direct, real, and momentary manifestation of a cosmic principle. It's a live connection, not just a reference.
Now, this isn't just some abstract philosophical debate. This is a conflict that has shaped human history. And that brings us to Section 4, Science and the Temple. These are presented as the two great historical rivals in this story of knowing.
This timeline shows what the source calls the Great Divergence. The argument goes that back in antiquity, an esoteric, functional kind of science, symbolized here by the temple, was the main game in town. But then a shift started to happen. Around the 6th century BC in Greece, some rationalist philosophers started emphasizing pure logic over intuition. That way of thinking was later cemented by Aristotle, which basically set the stage for the modern age, where analytical science became the primary, and for many people, the only valid way of knowing anything.
And you can see their goals are just worlds apart. Rationalist science wants to formulate laws. It wants to break the universe down into a collection of parts to understand how the machine works, how the gears turn. But the science of the temple has a totally different goal. It wants to grasp the living function behind the physical form. It doesn't see a machine at all. It sees a living organism, a unified whole, animated by a single vital intelligence.
So after this huge historical conflict, this tug of war between two ways of seeing, what's the resolution? Well, the final section points us toward a synthesis, a worldview that can actually hold both of these perspectives. Welcome to Section 5, Toward a World of Unity.
This slide really sums up the worldview that emerges from that esoteric point of view. In this way of seeing, an object isn't just an object. It's a physical symbol of its cosmic function, the job it's doing. An individual isn't just an individual. They are a symbol of their entire species. And the species itself is just one stage in this vast cosmic evolution of consciousness, where the ultimate goal is for the entire universe to become fully aware of itself. The ultimate reality proposed here is called the world of unity. Now, this isn't our physical world, but a deeper metaphysical realm of pure principles. You can almost think of it like the source code for reality. It's a plane of pure potential, where a single, creative, vital logic, which the text calls Genesis, governs how everything in our physical universe comes into being.
And this is amazing because it brings us full circle right back to the very first sentence of the text. The universe is a whole. All the parts we see, the stars, the trees, you, me, we're all interdependent because we are all simply different stages in the grand journey of consciousness becoming aware of itself.
So we end where we started, with a question that this explainer leaves for us to really think about. Is knowledge just about collecting and analyzing facts about the world out there? Or is true knowledge something else entirely? An inner recognition of our own participation in the living, unified function of the entire cosmos.